If I asked you what can you do to improve your physical health, 99 out of 100 people will be able to give you an answer. Eat a nutritious whole foods diet, sleep well, and exercise. But if I asked you what can you do to improve your mental health, most people would struggle to give you a legitimate answer. Talk to a therapist, take medication, God. Why? Why is this the case? After all, we all know that mental health is critical. And you may even know that we are collectively struggling in this department. We are more anxious, more depressed, and more dissatisfied than ever before. And while physical education is mandatory in schools, there is no mental equivalent. Why? We have plenty of education on what to think, but no education on how to think. We get no education on how to use our minds effectively, how to manage stress, how to cope with emotions, failure, dissatisfaction, how to set goals and build confidence, how to think critically. And the truth is, we now have decades of strong scientific evidence showing us exactly how to build a sense of personal resilience, how to develop a sense of well-being that is not dependent on external events, but cultivated within, that show us how to deal with stress, how to face setbacks. But the truth is, scientists have not done a good job at mobilizing this knowledge. So my hope is that this video is a small contribution in the right direction. I'm going to be synthesizing evidence from a meta-analysis that covers 306 different studies on building this sort of mental resilience, on developing this sort of psychological well-being that we're all after. With these skills in your mental arsenal, not only will you be able to handle stress and adversity masterfully, you'll also be able to extract more of that joyous juice out of life and improve your overall sense of well-being. If you're new here, my name is Mikey. I'm a master's student at the University of British Columbia, and I've been studying sports and performance psychology for a little over half a decade. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you one of the most researched and most effective mental skills that we can all develop. So without further ado, let's get into it. Cognitive reappraisals. A cognitive reappraisal is our ability to change our emotional response to a situation by simply changing how we think about it and adopting a different perspective. In every situation in life, there is an objective truth and there is a subjective truth. The objective truth is neutral. It is neither good or bad, it just is. Imagine you're observing your life from the universe's perspective, or God's perspective, if you will. If you did that, you would realize that the events of your life are a single domino in an infinite chain of causes and effects that led to this moment. There is no emotions tied to anything, there's no stress, there's no storylines. The events are just unfolding naturally. It is neutral. Now, the meaning that we attribute to these events is our subjective experience, and we create that subjective experience because when we perceive the situations in our lives, it gets filtered through our psyche. That filter, which involves all of our experiences, our culture, our upbringing, our identity, our biases, our goals, our dreams, our ambitions, our trauma, all of that. So we perceive the situation in the world, it gets filtered through our psyche, we attach a meaning to it, and then that becomes our subjective experience, which leads to our behaviors and the results of our lives. But I'm going to repeat something very important there. We are creating our subjective experience. We have full control if you choose to develop this skill of cognitive reappraisal. The science of perspective. There was a meta-analysis done at the University of Sheffield in 2012, which took a look at 306 different studies on emotional regulation strategies. And they identified two very effective strategies that I'm about to walk you through right now. For a bit of context, a meta-analysis is simply a synthesis of information across various studies. And this is considered to be one of the most effective and strong forms of evidence in the world of science. Why? Because if you get a result in a specific study, that's great, but there are many variables and things that could have gone wrong. However, if that result is replicated over and over and over again across different populations, done by a different team of researchers, across different methodologies, different approaches, and if you keep running to that same result, now that is some strong evidence, and that is what a meta-analysis does. So what this meta-analysis found is that cognitive reappraisal strategies significantly reduced our negative emotions, our anxiety, our physical states of stress, and it even reduced maladaptive behaviors, which is basically a fancy psychology term for saying acting like an asshole unbearable to yourself and the people around you because you feel some sort of way. So think about that. By simply reframing our thoughts consistently and developing a habit of not accepting the first storyline that comes into our head, we are not only changing our emotional and psychological experience, we are actually impacting our physical states, reducing our stress levels, which we know leads to better health outcomes overall, right? You're increasing your lifespan, you're improving your sleep. There's all these amazing benefits to reducing your stress levels. And on top of that, you're increasing the likelihood that you're gonna take positive action in your life that is gonna lead to the kind of results that you want. So this is critical. This is an amazing finding. Why is this not taught in schools? After all, I'm sure you've noticed, life is tough. We all face challenges, adversity, and stress. Whether you're transitioning from school into the workforce, you're becoming a parent, you are paying off your debt, your parents have become ill, you're getting a divorce, you're getting laid off, your child is getting bullied at school. It doesn't stop. Life will not stop throwing these jabs at you. And in a lot of ways, the quality of our lives is determined by our ability to effectively appraise these challenges and continue showing up with presence, with love, and with resilience. And that is what this skill allows you to do. So I want you to begin to think about cognitive reappraisals like training your mind to find alternative perspectives. And over time, this becomes like a mental muscle that gets stronger over time, and you'll become better at managing stress, at dealing with difficult situations, and doing the things that you want to do in life. So I'm going to give you 3 steps so you can apply this effectively in your life based on the research. The first step is becoming aware of your initial reaction and not identifying with it, right? So something happens in your life and you notice the feelings of anger, frustration, self-doubt, disappointment, sadness. You notice these feelings come up. The first thing is to become aware of it and label it, right? I am feeling sad. I am feeling angry. I am feeling disappointed. Notice I am not saying I am sad, I am disappointed, I am depressed, I am anxious. This semantic difference is very important, right? This is what it means to not identify with the emotion, but simply label it and become aware of it. Because when you make this distinction, you are remembering that this situation that you find yourself in is neutral. It is just information. It is the objective experience. And the meaning that you give to it, the story that you attach to it, that is what's creating your feelings. And that's what's going to create the results of your life moving forward. The second step is to challenge your initial reaction. Now, I made a whole separate video on this a couple of weeks ago, which you can check out after. But once you become aware of your emotion, once you've labeled it, you have to try your hardest to find a new way to look at it, find a novel perspective. And you do that by asking the following questions. Ask yourself, is this the only way to look at my situation? How many times have things unfolded in a way that I did not expect, but turned out better? Is my current perspective giving me power, or is it taking it away from me? Will this matter 1 year from now, 5 years from now, in my deathbed? You can even zoom out and imagine you're giving yourself advice from the perspective of an older mentor, maybe an entrepreneur that you look up to, or maybe your older self or your younger self, right? When you mentally remove yourself from the situation and you create that distance, you're able to look at the situation more objectively. And this is actually a real psychological tool that has been studied. It's called self-distancing or perspective taking. In another study by Cross and Iduk in 2011, they had participants think about stressful experiences either in the first person or an immersed perspective, or from a third person, a distance perspective. And they found that the self-distancing group experienced a 30% reduction in emotional intensity compared to those reflecting on the experience from a self-immersed point of view. The third step is to reframe the situation and do this in real time, right? So once you've become aware of your initial reaction, you've challenged it, and you've asked yourself these questions, you can develop a new way to look at it, right? And remember, this isn't about avoiding your feelings. This isn't about lying to yourself. It is about acknowledging the way you feel and simply creating some distance and adopting a perspective that is more helpful, that is empowering. So say, for example, you're about to give a big, important presentation. If you perceive the situation to be a high-pressure test of your competence, of course you're going to be stressed. Of course you're going to be anxious. But if instead You see the situation as an opportunity to share ideas that you're passionate about, an opportunity to improve your speaking skills, where even if you make a mistake, that's okay. That's just feedback for you to improve on and get better at it next time. All of a sudden, with this new frame, the anxiety dissipates and you can show up with more presence and more excitement. Let's stick with this example a bit longer. So picture this. You are actually about to give this presentation, right? And it's very important. You prepared for weeks. Maybe you're backstage and they're about to call your name out at this big conference, or maybe you're at a lecture hall and you're about to give this presentation to hundreds of classmates or whatever it may be. Naturally, your body will kick into a fight or flight response. You're gonna feel all of these stress hormones be released into your system: adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine. Now, your initial reaction might be to think, well, if I'm feeling this way, it's because I'm nervous, I'm anxious, I'm scared. What if I say something wrong? What if I make a mistake? What will they think, right? Now, the objective experience is that your physiology is releasing these chemicals. This is true. However, the words you use to give meaning to the situation will dramatically change how you perceive the situation. What if instead you told yourself, okay, I'm feeling this adrenaline, this extra kick of energy in my system, but that's just my body telling me I'm alert. That's my body telling me I'm excited. I've prepared. I know I'm ready for this. I'm excited. I have this extra energy in me, and that's normal. Notice how that simple shift in perspective, both of them are true. It's just that one perspective takes power away from you and the other one gives you power. And that is the strength of cognitive reappraisals. So I wanted to make this video relatively short to encourage you to do this with everything. Make this a daily practice. You missed your train, someone left you on red, you didn't close a deal, your boss interrupted you or dismissed your efforts. They showed up late, they canceled last minute. In every situation, when you start to challenge your initial reaction and develop the habit of actively reframing situations, you get better over time. You'll start to notice significant changes in your stress response. Your baseline level of anxiety will decrease, your overthinking will decrease. And know that each time you do this, each time you practice this, you are developing your mental resilience, which will allow you to show up to life's challenges, to life situations, with more presence, with more empathy, with more adaptive behavior, which ultimately allows you to show up for yourself and for the people around you with more love, with more energy. Practice this skill. Really give this a genuine effort. Ask yourself those questions. Go back and screenshot those questions. Please make sure you journal about these and you drill these questions into your head. How can I think about the situation differently? Is my current perspective giving me power or is it taking power away from me? When you start to develop the habit of changing the language you use to appraise situations, when you start to make a habit of stepping outside of your own psyche, stepping outside of your own ego and looking at it as a neutral experience that you're attaching meaning to, when you develop this skill, you'll get so much better over time. And I know it's going to have an impact on your mental health and it's going to have an impact in you achieving the things that you want to achieve in life. I hope this video serves you. If you learned something, let me know in the comments. It really encourages me and motivates me to keep making these videos. And another thing is, if you found this valuable, share it with someone in your life, maybe a sibling, a parent, a friend. Word of mouth recommendations like this help my channel grow, but also will help the people around you to start supporting you on this process. That is all for today. Take care of yourself and I'll see you around. Peace.